Well, hello there. My name is Bryce Remsburg. I'm an AEW referee. I am holding the AEW championship, but I am not the AEW champion. And I know a lot of people with issues, dorks with issues, nerds with issues, but my favorite kind of people with issues are geeks with issues. Luckily for you, you're watching Geeks with Issues. And I'm one too.
Hey, true believers! Welcome to Geeks with Issues. Is that something you've been waiting for me to say for a little bit? It's something I've been waiting to say for a little bit. We're back. The format has completely changed, but we're back. What can you expect from the new Geeks with Issues? You can expect a faster pace. We've got shows running in a half an hour. We've got topics that are kept underneath 5 minutes. Ooh. And we've got a new rotating cast of geeks who are going to be joining us in the brand new technical wizardry of the Basement of Dreams. It really is a dream in here now. It's kind of cool. We've got a lot to talk about, but before we do, allow me to take this opportunity to introduce to you your geeks. To my far right, the 8-bit adventurer himself, Sean. In the middle, our geek of many technical formats, Ogre, and I, of course, your Geekmaster Tuck. Let's get started with a topic brought to us by Sean about fishing.
So this is specifically fishing in games. Now this is in tabletop games, board games, video games. It's a perennial topic. It's everywhere. But it seems lately there are some folks who think there's maybe too much. But
blasphemy.
I say nay. So I'm a huge fan, and I just thought it was worth talking about.
There's absolutely nothing wrong about talking about fishing in games, because now I'm trying to remember the first time I had fishing in a game. The first one that's like burned into my brain, because I'm sure I experienced it previously, but the first one that's like stuck in there is Sonic Adventure on the Dreamcast.
Okay.
The entire mechanic of so Sonic Adventure, each one of the major characters in the game played with a different mechanic.
Yeah.
And the entire mechanic of Big the Cat was fishing. That was it.
Nice.
Just fished. So a solid, his story was not that long. It was one of the shorter stories, but it was just fishing. And it was a delightful change of pace and a fantastic set of mechanics. So from that moment, I've been very pro fishing and gaming.
Mine was either Pokemon,
okay,
which is very simple, quick time event fishing, or Legend of Zelda Ocarina of Time, which is more on the sort of simulation side. But my all-time favorite is Stardew Valley's fishing system, which is more like an arcade style, where there's mechanics that don't really translate to a simulation style of fishing, but still makes it very engaging. A lot of people are frustrated with it and hate it, but it's like the reason I play that game. The one thing that I have yet to experience is Breath of Fire 3's fishing, which is apparently a very involved fishing system. And that game has not been re-released since the PlayStation 1, so it is like nearly impossible to do without emulating. But that is, and it's required to do like certain endgame bosses.
See, now I'm trying to remember, because I think I vaguely remember playing Breath of Fire 3.
Mm-hmm.
That feels like a fever dream to me. Ogre fishing in games.
Yeah, my first experience was definitely Pokemon. I remember it's it's what it was there. I'm looking at more of a kind of zoomed out view. It's like the idea of like skills and progression and like getting items and gold and all of that stuff in games, catching Pokemon. Yeah, all of that is wonderful. So I think fishing is good. I also used to constantly lose my fishing pole, which was annoying. Oh my gosh. I was terrible at losing my fishing poles. It was terrible.
I will bring in a counterpoint. My wife plays Disney Dreamlight Valley, and her least favorite mechanic in that entire game is fishing.
So it's still on my wish list, so I'm not entirely familiar with what sort of fishing system it uses.
You've got to hit a target with the pole.
Okay.
And then it's time-based. So you've got to hit a target a couple times in order to successfully...
That sounds similar to Fire Emblem Three Houses, which is kind of like in the middle in terms of complexity. So I don't know if it's complex enough for my tastes, but...
Fishing in RPGs, does it fit?
Yes.
Like tabletop RPGs.
Yes.
Relaxation and role play. That's one of the main things I think about when doing fishing in games. So I think it fits in tabletop. Really, like the amount the DM can mess with the players with fishing too is just chef's kiss, in my opinion.
And for those who haven't checked it out, there's Rod, Reel, and Fist, which is a whole fishing tabletop RPG. That's what it revolves around entirely. It's a great one.
Good call. All right, let's move over to Ogre with a discussion about Waymo.
Waymo has received approval for testing autonomous vehicles in part of Manhattan and Brooklyn, making a significant step in the city's exploration of self-driving technologies. The initiative involves up to 8 autonomous vehicles operating in the city until late September. These vehicles will not be picking up passengers during the test. And in New York, state law mandates that the test vehicle operator be present all the time and ready to assume control of the vehicle during autonomous operation. However, what are your thoughts on autonomous driving vehicles? Would you ride in one?
So,
No,
interesting.
I would not. I don't think the technology is there yet.
Okay.
We've seen too many cases of autonomous vehicles during testing that have spectacularly failed, and the issue is often that results in personal injury, or if it hasn't, very easily could have. Now, maybe it's because we're all in an area where there's a lot of unexpected things that enter in the road through the woods that I would worry about, that you don't necessarily have to deal with, say, in a big city. But yeah, no, I would, if everything was on tracks, sure, but it's not, so.
Yeah, no, I'm a big fan of trains. So if they could make trains like they have in Japan or something like that, that would be way better. But personally, I would try an autonomous vehicle just for the experience, and then probably get out real quick because it's scary.
I have a really hard time with autonomous vehicles for 2 reasons. Reason number 1 is that certain autonomous vehicle producers have become politicized, and and that just makes that entire experience icky. I feel like this should be something that really deserves to be outside of that particular realm and zone. It's just blah. It's blah. But I really want to see the technology succeed, because I think about, I've got a very strong interest in thinking about people with disabilities or other inabilities to drive their own vehicle, to be able to have the capacity to have freedom that's not necessarily tied to mass transit. And particularly in a rural area like ours, throwing bebop.
That's Rocksteady.
Wow. Okay. Particularly in a rural area where mass transit on the scale of a larger urban area like New York or like Boston is not tenable, having access to a autonomous vehicle would be life-changing for someone who can't drive. So I want to see the technology be successful. And it's frustrating that A, there's that political component, and B, that it feels like the technology, in order for the technology to be ready, it needs to be tested in such a live fire fashion. Like it needs, there need to be, the way they're running it now, there needs to be people endangered in order to make it work. That.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and that runs into ethical concerns.
Yeah,
obviously.
it's extreme ethical concerns.
So
Just a little bit.
Just a quick follow-up question then. What vehicles should be banned from being autonomous?
I would say any vehicles without a full sensor suite probably would be ill-advised to be autonomous on the road.
Yeah.
Because that's
My vote's for my vote's for Tonka trucks. I don't want them building cities in my room. I stepped on Legos and it's terrible. I just don't want Tonka trucks to do anything while I'm sleeping.
I admitted I had thought about like no autonomous motorcycles.
that would be too.
That's just scary.
Yep.
That's scarier.
Yeah.
All right, we're already slapping at the clock. So we've got a new segment here on Geeks with Issues 20XX, Journeys from the Basement. Journeys from the Basement are an opportunity for us to more regularly explore spaces that are full of geeks that aren't necessarily here in the basement of dreams. I'm super excited for our first episode's Journey from the Basement, hosted by our own director, Trevor Flagg, who is visiting the local friendly neighborhood game store for Berkshire County, Mana Crypt. So let's take a look at this Journey from the Basement to Mana Crypt.
Hey geeks, let's go check out Mana Crypt Gaming Center. If you're into tabletop games, trading cards, or just looking for a space to play and connect, this may be the spot for you. Located at 139 West Housatonic Street in Pittsfield, Mana Crypt is open Tuesday through Saturday, 1 to 9 p.m. Inside, the shelves are packed with everything from Magic the Gathering and Pokemon to Disney's Lorcana, plus a solid selection of singles if you're building decks or just hunting for something specific. And it's not just card games. You'll find board games, RPGs, Warhammer, Star Wars Legion, all kinds of puzzles, all kinds of hobby gear. Whether you're a longtime player or just starting out, there's definitely something here for you. Next street. We're here for another Journey from the Basement segment on Geeks With Issues. I'm here with Chris from Mana Crypt Gaming Center. Chris, how you doing, man?
I'm doing great.
Tell me a little bit about the place, how long you've been here, and what you do.
Yeah, so we opened up back in 2017. We are a tabletop gaming store. We mostly do trading card games like Magic and Pokemon. We do Dungeons & Dragons, Warhammer, board games, puzzles, a little bit of Gunpla models, all that kind of stuff. Anything that's not video game related, basically.
So you have a little bit of Friday Night Magic still a thing?
Yep, we do Friday Night Magic. We do Pokemon events. We do Lorcana events, which is Disney's new trading card game. So yeah, we do a little bit. Usually every night there's something going on here.
So what do you think right now? What's the hardest thing for a customer to get right now? I feel like Pokemon is a tough one, but what's like
Pokemon's
the hardest
tough.
item?
English Pokemon is probably the toughest for
Okay.
sure. When it comes out, they kind of underprint it and it goes pretty quickly. We can get Japanese Pokemon pretty readily, so the collectors are usually happy with that, but you can't play with foreign cards if you're playing Pokemon, so that's rough a little bit for the players. One Piece TCG is also one that's tough to get your hands on. It's another one that's printed fairly short supply, and it's popular enough with collectors that goes pretty quickly as well. Until recently, our space wasn't as big as it is. When we started, we were just kind of in the front of our store, and we kind of expanded to this side and then expanded to the other side. So it's been relatively recent that we have as much space as we do.
So one thing as a geek, I like to ask other geeks is, obviously you're a geek for the things that we have here.
Yep.
What's one thing someone might not know you geek out about? Maybe like a hidden treasure that you've never told anybody.
There's lots of easy things, but
Like for me, it would be like I Love Lucy.
okay.
Like a really weird.
I like a lot of 90s sci-fi TV shows. Stargate SG-1 is one of my big favorites.
Okay.
My wife and I are actually starting to go through that again for probably the 5th or 6th time.
Awesome.
Super fun show, and if nobody's seen it, they should check it out.
Do you like to go out to events in Pittsfield or in the local area? Do you guys table things like that?
So we don't do a lot of that because until recently I was the only employee. So anytime I had to go out, I'd have to shut down the store.
Okay.
But we have done the local Pride event in Pittsfield over the last couple of years. We've had a booth there. And now, as of this year, I do have an employee, so we'll probably start doing a little bit more. I know there's a Pokemon show that's starting to happen in Lee. They had their first event back in June, and they're planning on doing more, so we'll probably start showing up to that. And yeah, we might expand from there.
So, Chris, one thing I like to ask any shop owner, any geek that I'm talking to, what's the most sought after item? What's the rarest item you have in the store right now? Maybe you want to show us that.
The rarest item I have in the store, it's not necessarily the most sought after, but it's really cool, is an original printing factory sealed copy of Hero Quest, the board game from the late 90s. Came in recently, someone was cleaning out their parents' house, and it was probably a present for their brother back in the day that just never got given, and it ended up here.
That is really cool. We're gonna have to do
The old Milton Bradley.
We could do a whole segment on Milton Bradley games from back in the day. I mean, I remember putting back. Oh my God, it's not even the same, but just the Crossfire. The time I played Crossfire. Oh my God, how much time did I spend on that? That's really cool, man.
So the one big thing that's happened with this store over time is a lot of the products that I have are because people have requested them.
Right.
So anything that I can get my hands on that I don't have, I am happy to get for people. So as long as my distribution has it and I can get a source, I'm happy to do things like that. And that also helps me expand into what people are looking for. So
excellent. Well, we definitely hope we get some eyes and some foot traffic in here too. I'm sure you're busy. If we were to come back here in 3 or 4 hours, I'm sure you're going to have people all over the place.
Yep.
Thanks for joining us, man. Hopefully this is the beginning of us coming back a few more times.
Sounds great.
Thanks a lot, man.
Thank you.
Geeks, hope you enjoyed.
So, gentlemen, this is a dumb question, but pro-friendly neighborhood gaming store?
I'm obviously, yeah.
Obviously, yes.
I mean, I go to Mana Crypt all the time, so I have to say yes.
No, pro 100%. If I'm pro neighborhood store in general, so like if we can bring as many things to local stores and out of online, not necessarily all online retail, but massive, huge online retailers, just to kind of bring back the human personality of things, that would be lovely, in my opinion.
Speaking of bringing us back to neighborhoods, Sean, you've got a story on player housing.
Yeah, so at the time of recording, player housing is going to be introduced into World of Warcraft. And just as another perennial topic of player housing in games in general, often in this economy, the joke is that like it's as much of a fantasy in games as it is to see dragons and knights running around with flaming swords and stuff. Is that being able to own a home? Whether
I shouldn't be laughing at that.
whether it's a simple cottage or a grand keep full of all sorts of features and special workshops and everything. So, and I know in a recent campaign that we finished up, Bastions in particular played heavily in Dungeons and Dragons, and that was player housing introduced formally into D&D as a part of leveling up, which hasn't been in the game really since 2nd edition. So, again, it's just I like to see it in games.
Yeah.
Well, and there's that element of, not only that element of personalization, but that element of ownership. I think to a certain degree, player housing has been a major part of gaming since the very beginning. I know there are player housing like keep mechanics and so forth in early versions of Advanced Dungeons and Dragons.
Yep.
Correct me if I'm wrong, RuneScape?
I never played RuneScape.
But an example of a MMORPG that's absurdly old and has a lot of player customization in that regard. I think it's a great way to get players invested into some degree of community. I agree that there's a certain amount of grim humor involved now, because that's a great, like the most likely way that a millennial at this point is going to get to not rent a house is to, although you're also paying MMO fees, unless housing is available on free to play.
I don't believe in World of Warcraft's case it would be available free to play. However, if you play enough, you could make enough gold to buy time.
Okay.
And convert, but you have to basically play all the time to make that much gold. But it is possible, folks.
Yeah.
You can do it.
I know my experience with housing in an MMO. I used to play Albion online for a few years, and you can get an island and then build houses and gather resources. You can test builds and everything right on your island, and in your house you can set up stations to send like mercenaries out to gather more resources and just kind of improve and you can do that in their free-to-play version. There are lots of limitations in that particular version, but it's you have that option, and it was always fun. Lots of convenience, resource generating, all those great things.
Wakfu had, it didn't outwardly appear as a house, it appeared as a bag, but it was an extra dimensional bag that you could go into that would function as a shop, and you could customize the interior of the bag with like layouts and furniture and stuff. So it functioned as a house, and that was available free to play.
Okay. Interesting.
There's also Animal Crossing.
Well, which
for many people is the OG experience for having your own house and in a video game space, and the original experience for dealing with a cranky landlord.
Listen, I will defend Tom Nook to this day. You will not get any better loan terms than from Tom Nook. He gives you a 0% interest loan that has no timetable for being paid back.
That's a fair point.
You only need to pay him back if you want to expand your house.
a fair and reasonable defense of Tom Nook.
Also been the case that he has said that he takes all of your earnings and like donates them to orphanages. So
okay.
Yeah, so there's that too.
All right.
That's great.
The kindly Tanuki.
Yes.
All right, so our final topic of conversation for this episode of Geeks is, since it's been a minute since we've done an episode of Geeks with Issues, I figured we would have a conversation about Star Wars, because there has been a significant proliferation in Star Wars media. And I am curious. So, the original run of Geeks with Issues, the prequels existed. I was rude to Steve Sansweet, and I want to apologize to that man because I was wrong. Clone Wars is genius, and I should have known better. I apologize if Steve Sansweet ever watches this. I doubt it, but in the rare instance, I messed up. Oi. Anyway, Clone Wars was just getting started. But since, say, Clone Wars to now, what do you feel is the most Star Wars piece of media that you have seen produced in that range? We'll call that the modern era.
For me, Mandalorian, hands down.
Okay.
I think in terms of the most Star Wars and what we think of as like classic Star Wars and capturing sort of kind of space fantasy Western.
Okay.
Like that's it. You know, I know there's been sort of high points and low points in the show, and that, you know, like Andor, for example, is perhaps a better show overall. I think as far as the most Star Wars of the Star Wars, you know, newer media is got to be Mandalorian.
Okay.
Yeah. Specifically, I would agree with that. Specifically, the scene where Luke shows up in the Mandalorian, that was Star Wars
Lost it.
right there.
Absolutely lost it.
Absolutely.
And I'll take the easy way out. The Bad Batch was a continuation of the Clone Wars, so that's the easy way out to say that was still Star Wars overall. It's hard to say which one was my favorite because I kind of had a falling off of watching them after the second of the latest 3 movies. I'm going to be 100% transparent. I still haven't seen The Rise of Skywalker because of that series, because of those movies. They got so devoid from Star Wars, in my opinion, that it was really rough.
That's fair.
Yeah, Rise of Skywalker is great if you go in with the expectation that you are actually watching a sort of like PS1, PS2 era JRPG. Like if you go in expecting Xenogears, like you're in for a great time. Or perhaps even Metal Gear Solid.
Yes. No, I can absolutely see that.
Yeah, and then I think for me as like an adjacent property, Skeleton Crew.
Okay.
Which is very much starts off as like Goonies in space, and then kind of continues that vibe.
So, I actually have a very hard time with this question because I think the answer very much lends into what you most think of is the iconic element of Star Wars. Like a lot of people found the banality of evil in Andor to be incredibly poignant and extremely revelatory about the Empire. I think I can agree with parts of The Mandalorian, and there are some rough spots. I think as far as, speaking of rough spots, the last season of Clone Wars had some real rough spots, but the spots that weren't rough, that was...
Yeah.
Because in some ways, I am a prequels kid. And that finally tied together the prequel story and did a good job of doing it.
Mm-hmm.
Can you believe it that we've run out of time? The final episode, or the final range of Geeks With Issues 20XX is complete. We hope you've enjoyed the experience. We've had a lot of fun doing the first episode, and we're very much looking forward to doing many, many more episodes. So, until next time, you're Sean.
Yes.
What? Geek out.
They're doing it wrong on purpose to vex me.
Maybe a little bit.
Until next time, geek on, geek out, and geek anywhere. Just clean up after yourself. We'll see you next time on Geeks With Issues 20XX. Goodbye, everybody.
You gotta blow on it. You gotta blow on it. I used to think anything was possible. I thought that I could be a king or Caesar, but I don't need all of that gold or silver. That's how I know that I'm a true believer. Some people wanna climb the corporate ladder, TPS reports, politics and schemes. Thanks to my chainsaw, my cubicle is firewood. Now I'm living in a basement of dreams.